The story begins with a 50-year-old woman named Romy Mathis sharing an intimate moment with her husband, Jacob. At first glance, they seem like the perfect couple. They've been married for years, they have 2 daughters, and their relationship appears loving and stable. But the moment Jacob feels satisfied and falls asleep, Romy quietly gets out of bed. Instead of staying beside her husband, she walks into the living room, opens her laptop, and begins watching adult videos alone. That's when we realize something isn't right. The next morning, everything looks completely different. Romy steps into her role as the CEO of one of New York's leading robotics automation companies. She's respected by everyone around her. Every major decision in the company depends on her judgment. Outside of work, she's a loving wife and a devoted mother to her 2 daughters, Isabel and Nora. To the world, Romy seems to have the perfect life. But behind her confident smile, she's carrying a secret that will soon turn her entire world upside down.
The story then takes an unexpected turn. One day, as Romy arrives outside her office, she notices a large dog running around and frightening people nearby. The dog suddenly charges toward her, leaving Romy completely frozen in fear. Just when it seems like the situation is about to get worse, a young man calmly walks forward. Instead of shouting or chasing the dog away, he simply reaches into his pocket, pulls out a small cookie, and offers it to the animal. Within seconds, the aggressive dog becomes completely calm. Romy watches the entire scene in disbelief. She can't understand how a complete stranger managed to control the dog so effortlessly. A few hours later, after finishing some work, Romy's assistant brings a group of new interns into her office. As the CEO, Romy welcomes them and encourages everyone to ask questions about the company. Most of the interns remain quiet until one young man confidently raises his hand. He asks, "Do you build these robots to improve people's lives or simply to make more money?" The room immediately fills with laughter. But unlike everyone else, Romy doesn't laugh. Instead, she finds the question surprisingly interesting. Then she realizes something. The intern asking that question is the same young man who controlled the dog outside the office earlier that day.
His name is Samuel. At that exact moment, Romy's phone begins to ring. The meeting comes to an end, and the interns start leaving the room. But before Samuel walks away, he and Romy exchange one long, silent look. The story continues as Romy finds herself thinking about Samuel more and more. Later that day, she notices him again and asks him to bring her a cup of coffee. When Samuel returns, Romy finally asks the question that's been on her mind ever since the morning. "How did you calm that dog so easily?" Samuel smiles and replies, "It was simple. I just offered him a cookie." Surprised, Romy asks, "Do you always carry cookies in your pocket?" Samuel grins and says, "Yeah, would you like one?" He says it as a joke, but for a brief moment, Romy simply stares at him without saying a word. Before the conversation can continue, her husband, Jacob, calls her. Romy quickly leaves, but Samuel's playful confidence stays on her mind. That same night, Jacob tries to get close to Romy once again. This time, she quietly admits that she sometimes has to imagine something else just to feel emotionally connected.
Jacob assumes she's only joking and doesn't take her words seriously. But from Romy's expression, it's obvious that she's hiding feelings she has never been able to share with him. A few days later, the company hosts its annual holiday party. Jacob and their daughters enjoy the celebration, laughing and dancing with everyone around them. But Romy doesn't seem interested. She quietly steps out onto the terrace, trying to stay away from the crowd. Moments later, Samuel walks over and tells her that he has chosen her as his mentor. Confused, Romy replies, "I'm not even part of the mentorship program. How did you get my name?" Samuel simply shrugs. "I don't know. I just saw your name on the list." Before leaving, Samuel joins Romy's daughters on the dance floor. Within minutes, they're all laughing and having fun together. As Romy watches from a distance, she can't take her eyes off him. Even when Jacob tries to talk to her, her attention remains fixed on Samuel.
As the office staff cleans up after the holiday party, Romy notices something lying on the floor. It's Samuel's tie. For a moment, she considers giving it back, but instead, She quietly slips it into her bag and takes it home. Later that night, when she's completely alone, she takes the tie out and holds it close. At that moment, it becomes clear that this is no longer simple curiosity. Romy has developed feelings she's been trying desperately to suppress. Determined to change, Romy begins focusing on her appearance. She starts working out at the gym, buys new clothes, and even gets cosmetic treatments to make herself look younger. However, her oldest daughter, Isabel, notices the sudden change and jokes about it. Although Romy pretends not to care, the comment hurts her deeply. For a brief moment, she wonders if she's simply trying to chase something that's impossible. A few days later, while riding the elevator at work, she unexpectedly runs into Samuel. He notices her new look immediately and says, "You look beautiful today." It isn't a flirtatious compliment. It's simple, honest, and completely unexpected. Romy tries to hide her emotions, but those few words stay with her for the rest of the day. Soon after, Samuel requests a private mentoring session. Romy reluctantly agrees, but gives him only 7 minutes. She believes he'll ask ordinary career questions. Instead, Samuel asks a question that completely catches her off guard. How did you become the person you are today? And without realizing it, Romy is about to reveal far more about herself than she ever intended.
The story continues as Romy opens up about her past. During the meeting, she explains how she spent her entire life following expectations. She worked hard, made every sacrifice, and eventually became the CEO of one of the biggest robotics companies in New York. After finishing her story, she looks at Samuel and asks, "So, what did you learn from all of this?" Samuel doesn't hesitate. He calmly replies, "I learned that you've spent your entire life doing what other people expected from you. You've achieved success, but you've never really lived for yourself." His words hit Romy harder than she expected. She immediately stands up, clearly offended, and decides to end the meeting. But just as she's about to leave, Samuel says one last thing. "I don't think your success came from your position. I think it came from your courage." Romy suddenly stops. For a few seconds, neither of them says a word. Then, almost without thinking, she walks back toward him and kisses him. The moment lasts only a few seconds. Almost immediately, Romy realizes what she's done. Shocked by her own actions, she pulls away and quickly leaves the room. The kiss may have been brief, but it changes everything. Feeling overwhelmed with guilt, Romy spends the weekend with her family at their farmhouse, hoping some distance will help her forget what happened. That night, she can't sleep. As she looks outside, she notices her daughter, Isabel, sharing a romantic moment with another girl near the swimming pool. The next morning, Romy asks her daughter about it. Isabel honestly explains that she still loves someone else and that the moment by the pool didn't change that. Hearing this strangely eases Romy's guilt. She begins convincing herself that one mistake doesn't have to destroy an entire relationship. Even so, she makes an important decision. She promises herself that she'll never meet Samuel again. But fate has very different plans.
The story continues as Romy tries to stay away from Samuel. The following week, Samuel asks for one final meeting. Romy immediately refuses. She tells him that he crossed a line and that they should never see each other again. Instead of arguing, Samuel calmly replies, "I promise, next time everything will happen only if you want it to. Just give me one last meeting." Romy tries to ignore him, but deep inside, she knows she's already losing the battle against her own emotions. To convince herself that she's still loyal to Jacob, she returns home and spends time with her husband. She desperately wants to believe that her marriage can still be saved. A few days later, the interns organize a party, and Romy is invited. While looking around the room, she suddenly notices Samuel talking and laughing with her assistant, Esme. The two seem surprisingly close. For the first time, Romy feels jealous. She can't explain why. After all, Samuel is just an intern, but seeing him with another woman bothers her far more than she'd like to admit. A few moments later, a waiter places a glass of milk in front of her. Confused, Romy asked who sent it. The waiter quietly pointed towards Samuel. Samuel smiles from across the room. Then, before leaving, he simply says, "Good girl." Everything seems normal until her phone vibrates. It's a message from Samuel. He asks her to come to the office. Curious and unable to resist, Romy goes there after the show. The office is empty. Waiting for her is only a handwritten note. It contains nothing except a hotel address. But the next day, instead of ignoring it, she gets dressed, leaves home, and heads straight to the hotel. Without realizing it, she's about to cross a line from which there may be no return.
The story continues as Romy arrives at the hotel mentioned in Samuel's note. She enters the room and waits in complete silence. A few minutes later, Samuel finally walks in. Romy immediately tries to take control of the situation. She tells him to sit down and begins questioning him. She asks why he chose her as her mentor, why he kissed her, why he sent her the glass of milk, and why he made her come all the way to this hotel. Samuel listens patiently. Then he calmly asks a question of his own. "If I'm just an intern, why did you come?" He reminds Romy that she keeps looking at him, that she suddenly changed her appearance, and that despite knowing this meeting was wrong, she still chose to be there. For the first time, Romy has no answer. Samuel slowly steps closer and says, "Be honest with yourself. What do you really want?" Romy tries to change the subject. She tells Samuel she's worried that this relationship could ruin his future because he's much younger than she is. Samuel quietly smiles. Then he says, "You're worried about me, but the one who has everything to lose is you." He explains that if anyone discovers their relationship, it won't destroy his reputation, it will destroy hers. Those words leave Romy speechless. She realizes he's right. Everything she's worked for, her career, her family, and her reputation, could disappear overnight. She turns toward the door, ready to leave. Samuel doesn't stop her. He doesn't chase after her. He simply lets her go. Romy pauses. After a long moment, she slowly turns back. She walks toward Samuel and kisses him again. This time, Samuel gently stops her. He tells her that physical attraction isn't what this meeting is about. Instead, he wants her to stop pretending. He wants her to accept the side of herself she's been hiding for years. At that moment, Romy finally stops fighting her own feelings. And from that day forward, their secret relationship truly begins. What started as simple curiosity has now become an obsession, one that will soon threaten to destroy every part of Romy's carefully built life.